Hey Nashville, what's poppin'? We're back with another episode of Soundcheck, the show that encourages you to listen outside the lines. They haven't canceled us yet. I'm your host, Brandon Dela Cruz, and we have a great show lined up for you. Today, I'll be talking to Molly Rocket, but first, here they are with their new music video for Friction, Dat Booty Dough.
It might be nice to live alone, getting shit done on your own. Take care of yourself, you seem just fine. But your independence depends on a secret. Can't stop, won't stop, it's addictive living. Just one heartbeat away from loving. But your body don't wanna listen. No matter how hard you try to stay away, you always end up with what you crave. And you want that booty, tryna get that booty though. You know it's just a fact of life. And you're judged for being lonely and desperate, but that's just the price of being horny and a woman with a sexual appetite. You're a strong electric woman, got a fire, it just keeps burning, and yet you lack a certain spark. Might seem like a contradiction, but some sparks are only started by friction. You need another surface to rub up on. And you want that booty, tryna get that booty, girl. You know it's just a fact of life. You just
Hey everybody, I'm here with Molly Rocket, and what you just saw was their new music video for Friction, Dat Booty Dough. It's an excellent video. It's very elaborate. Can you talk a little bit about how you made that video, how you made the song and how you made the video to go along with it?
Yeah, so the song itself came out of my frustration with just the general hookup culture in Nashville and in our generation's kind of web. And it felt necessary to express that just because I'm a woman with a sexual appetite doesn't mean that I am here to be objectified or to be stereotyped or anything. And that's where the song grew from. And we started playing it live almost immediately, and it got such a good reaction that we felt like we had to make it a big moment. And that's how the video came about.
Yeah, we just kind of, we wanted it to be fun was one of the big ideas, because the song is fun. You listen to it and like, yes, it has a message, and that holds true for a lot of Molly Rocket stuff. Is we want it to be fun. We want people to want to listen to it, and then once they start listening to it a little more, they realize there is more to it.
And how long did that take? Because it seems like you put a lot of effort into it as far as the production quality and everything.
Yeah, the guys we did it with, we started meeting over a month before we shot. We met once or twice a week, got together discussing the concept, how we were going to translate this kind of difficult concept to make it as accessible as possible. And we drove around Nashville scouting locations together, and it grew out of our world. So we've decided to film at Dino's, which is a local spot that a lot of people we know hang out in. And a lot of little things like that in the video just kind of give it this sense of openness and accessibility to where it's fun, and you kind of forget that this is a really strong feminist message. And then at the end of the video, people have reacted to it like, oh, well, I guess I should probably respect women a little bit more, and kind of just slid it in there.
Yeah, so that's, I was going to ask about the kind of feedback you've been getting, and is that respective of like across the board? Or?
We've actually been, the only word for it is shocked by how little negative feedback we've gotten.
Oh, that's great.
And of course, stuff like, you know, our families and parents, it's supposed to be a little shocking, you know, but the kind of like creepy, weird stuff that you expect from seeing a video like that
Sure.
has been almost not at all present.
Not at all. I haven't received a single stranger DM about my tits since that video has come out, and they're pretty apparent in the video. So
Relatively.
I mean, that's really impressive by itself.
it
that
is.
statistic.
It honestly is. And before we made this video and released it, I can tell you, and I'm sure many women that you know, receive messages over the internet or in person, catcalls, whatever, on the daily, basically.
Posting normal pictures of just them with
Of my
their
face.
friends, of their face, not of stuff like that.
So having it all out there and receiving this overwhelming support has just been incredible for us. Also kind of shows us that we did head in the right direction with how the production of the video came out. And we accentuated the right things in the song. So that was exciting for us too.
Sure.
And the guys we worked on it with put in so much effort in the editing as well,
Yeah.
which I didn't really realize that a lot of that goes into music videos until we actually had to do it. We went through like 4 or 5 edits with the video and worked with them for several months after we filmed it to get it to the point that we wanted it at. And we're incredibly proud of it.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad that turned out good. You just got off tour. How did that go? Where did you go to? How long were you out for?
Tour was a bit of a wild experience.
Yeah.
We had this great plan. So we started because we went to Wesleyan University and we had to get back and play there. And then Molly's from New York. We have a million friends. So okay, we're an hour away. We'll play there. And then we kind of thought we'd work our way back to Nashville. Philly, Ohio, Chicago, all of those fell through. So within the past couple weeks, we were scrambling to find more dates, and we ended up Davenport, Iowa City, and St. Louis. So we had a huge drive, a couple shows, another huge drive, and a few more shows, which was stressful getting it all together. We did it all ourselves with the help of Soren Bryce, who will be performing on Revolve with us, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. It was obviously a learning experience, but
Yeah, and I can say that if something somewhere doesn't go wrong, it's not tour and it's not life. So even little snafus here or there, like they just made the experience as a whole better. And as he said, a learning experience for sure. And we know what to do differently the next time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I mean, the whole Molly Rocket thing in general is like we have to try it ourselves first, and like if we mess it up, okay, fine. But like now we know, like that's why
Well,
we're.
there's something really liberating about going out and failing in some way, because then you're like, I'm alive, I'm fine.
Sure.
Play the next show the next night, and it's great. And teaching yourself that like failing's okay. You have to fail in order to succeed, and that you're almost always a better person for it. So.
Yeah. And as far as touring goes, I feel like a lot of people don't, you know, they hear musicians talking about tours, like, oh, that sounds great, that sounds like so much fun. When you see a band that comes through your town, they're playing for you, they're having a great time. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't understand the reality of it is you're having fun for like an hour a night, and then you're like trying to get to the next place.
That's the saying, you get paid for the 23 hours you're not on stage.
Right, there you go, yeah, that's true.
That's what touring is. It's traveling and waiting and hurrying up and waiting more.
But it's incredibly rewarding, and we actually had something really special happen to us on this tour. We played Davenport, Iowa for the first time, and it's a great music city. If you haven't been there, you should.
Yes,
definitely
Iowa
check it out.
Up.
Yeah, it's on the come up. Yeah, and we had a girl who saw us play and
for the first time.
Had never heard of us, had loved us so much that she drove to Iowa City the next night to see us again.
No kidding.
Yeah, we played Iowa City, which is only an hour away from Davenport, but she got off work and drove to see us again.
That's amazing.
And we haven't had that happen before, so
yeah,
that's got to
be. If I can get one person to do that, like just imagine what we can do.
Well, that's got to be a great feeling, you know.
Oh yeah, it's really awesome.
All the work that you put into the music and making this happen, and then it connects with somebody like that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
very
great.
special, and we do this for the fans too. Like we do it for ourselves, but that music has always been about community for me and for Atticus as well, and that there's no point to play a show for people if you're not going to play it for the people. Like, I don't know. Definitely rings true for us.
Molly, I wanted to ask you about something that I think plays very well in with your music and with your presentation and your stage presence is your sense of fashion. And how did you develop your sense of fashion? It's very unique, and I say that just because it doesn't matter like where I'm at. If I'm out at a bar somewhere or something and like you're coming in, I'm like, okay, like that's just, you're always wearing something that's really, really unique and really interesting, and it just seems to work really well for you. So how did you develop that?
Thanks. It's been a long history of vintage inspiration that started with my grandmother, actually, on my dad's side. She's my size and has an incredible vintage wardrobe from the 60s, 70s, like Prada, Gucci, everything.
Nice.
And from like age 15 onwards, she started giving me her old clothes that she doesn't wear anymore, including these shoes. I don't know if the camera can see, but here we are. And it just grew from there. And I'm from New York City, and I'm very fast-paced and need to move on to the next thing like immediately. And so thrift store shopping is super fun for me because I can spend $20 and get like 5 things at a store sometimes, and I recycle it and I trade with my friends, and we do clothing swaps and things like that, and it all kind of grew out of that. And then I am shorter than the average human, and I feel like part of that plays into my loud, vibrant kind of personality, and you see me and you know that that's what you're gonna get. No surprises.
Awesome. Well, and you did that, what was it, the punk rock prom?
Yeah, I did. I went as Courtney Love for punk rock prom, and I won.
It was and you had a Kurt Cobain with you.
I did. I had a Kurt
And
Cobain with me.
it
He was an
just-
excellent Kurt.
It was great.
Yeah, and I worked at a vintage store now too to
Oh, really?
pay bills. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
I knew that. I don't know why I'm acting surprised, but I knew that.
no surprises. You said that.
So, but you all are also very active in the community, and really that's how I met you. Was through
Nashville Riot Girls.
Right.
Riot Dad.
Right. But can you talk a little bit about that and about Molly Rocket Mondays and what you're trying to do with that?
Yeah, we have an event that we put on at Cobra once a month. Cobra used to be Foo Bar, and it's called Molly Rocket Mondays, and we try to bring artists and music and ideas that aren't necessarily expressed as often in East Nashville to East Nashville. So I think our most successful one so far has been our Unity concert, which was in February. It was for Black History Month, and we had several different genres of artists. We had Thelma and the Sleaze played, and then we had this new girl, her name is Sav, and she's a rapper, and she's incredible. She opened up this show, and she raps about like Taco Bell and being like stoned in her bed and like losing weed in the park. It's like, so relatable. Yeah. And no, but it's great. And there were a bunch of people at that show who had never even been to Cobra before. And it all started because we played the grand opening of Cobra when it switched over from Fubar. Right. And Cody, the sound guy, and I got along super well, and we're like, hey, we did good at this event. We should try this again.
Yeah. And the kind of what you touched on with community there, and that one of the parts we feel so at home in East Nashville, where we are based, and is like, there really is a sense of community there. And yeah, it's really competitive because there's so many bands, but after, having been here for a couple of years and gotten to know some people, and you do know who it's going on, and it's like when we showed up and Butthole was leaving today, it's like, oh, hey, how's it going, everybody, and it makes it a little bit more special and easier to kind of support each other and to kind of feel like you're a part of that is really cool and really important to us.
Yeah, and it also, I mean, everything we do is related to music, and we go out and see probably 4 shows a week ourselves as well. And I love seeing new bands, and I love the feeling of sharing new music with people. And so getting bands that maybe some of our friends haven't seen before, or other people didn't know existed, and they come to Molly Rocket Monday, and they stay for the entire night, and they see all of the bands, which is like a rare thing to happen at Nashville shows. It's really special. Yeah. And I'm also working on getting more bands from out of Nashville. Coming up, we have Soren Bryce, who sings with us in Revolve. She's going to play Molly Rocket Monday, and she's based out of New York. And then we have an artist from Austin coming in May, and we have an artist from Bowling Green coming. So Amazing. It's going to be trying to grow outside of our circles.
Yeah, and touching a little bit on the community theme, I mean, I've had musicians talk about wanting to participate and wanting to go to shows, and then they feel obligated. And my take on that has been you haven't found the right shows to go to. You haven't found the right bands, because there are so many bands out there, but if you try to make yourself go to everything, to participate in everything, it's really not going to work. But if you find, for example, like you all and Butthole and all these, just you form your own groups, and then they're like, okay, there's a show happening here, there's a show happening here. And it is, I'm not going to say it's not easier to do, but it's more fulfilling to do that. I think, to support the groups that you really like. Yeah,
I think that it's one of the reasons Nashville is so good is because that tends to happen a little more naturally, because people tend to be a little more open than they are in a place like New York or LA, where you have to be more intense to succeed. And here, it's easier to get into those circles that might be a little more closed off other places. And people want to see more shows, and they want more bands to connect with. So we're just trying to connect these circles, through Molly Rocket Monday. It's like, okay, well, here's a band that we usually might not play with this other band, but let's see if we can get these people together, because who knows what might happen. Yeah. Going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we also get to give bands platforms to play that they might not otherwise have. And this is by no means a strict rule of Molly Rocket Mondays, but I definitely go out of my way to book female-fronted bands, and bands that show a little more diversity than the average Nashville band. And I won't go too much more into that, but it's just something that I know I have this platform, and so why shouldn't I use it? Is kind of how I feel about it.
And I don't have any problem saying that the Nashville scene is white dudes, almost entirely.
There you go.
And that's hard, because when I came here first, and I wasn't aware of all of this, it just seemed like, oh, all these people are cool, or whoever, and they're like me, And then as I slowly became aware of it, it's like every show, it's like 4 bands, 4 dudes, it's like, so to have something that is a break from that, I think is worthwhile.
Absolutely. And Atticus and I notice almost over 90% of the shows we play, I'm the only woman on stage the entire night, even if there's 4 bands. Yeah. And it's not just Nashville, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
And
you do have to make a pretty concerted effort to make that not a thing.
yeah, and I'm not saying anything negative about white dude bands either, because
No, I
there's a
love
ton
white-
of them that
I
I
love
love.
white.
Like,
Great.
you know, and they also all have tons of opportunities to play.
Right,
So
and it's also like I know them, and I know I can see them at this place, and but when I did go to the show that you mentioned back in February, I had not seen any of those bands, and they were all new to me, and I got something out of each of them. So
yeah, it's pretty great.
somewhat along those lines, and this is a tricky question. I don't know if there's a right answer or a wrong answer. Do musicians have some kind of a responsibility to their fans, to their communities, to be not necessarily a role model, but more of like an educator, a motivator, a leader in some way? Do you have any thoughts about that? Like what?
I have a ton of thoughts about that.
I would love to hear what they are. So
Well,
please.
I think especially now and in the position our country is in, is if you have a platform to express yourself socially, publicly, and you're not using it to do good, then you're doing something wrong. It could be something as small as, for us, we have like almost 2,000 Instagram followers, whatever, but like I'm gonna post every Women's Day, every holiday, I'm gonna talk about it because it's something I care about, and it's something that forces me to be creative, and it's a huge part of my drive is how I feel socially and politically about issues. And so if I don't use my main talents, which is music, to do that, then like, what am I doing? Is kind of how it feels for me. And that's not to say that you need to make everything politicized, because like we said, Molly Rocket is supposed to be fun and you're supposed to enjoy yourself, and then the afterthought is like, oh, okay, like I can be a better person, I can help make the world a better place.
Well, and politics doesn't have to be not fun.
No.
Like politics is all encompassing, so
Yeah.
it can include all those elements.
Yeah, I don't know, we keep coming around to this kind of idea of community, but I do think there's a bit of responsibility, and I don't think that the responsibility, there's responsibility to do more than just entertain sometimes, and while that doesn't always necessarily mean to educate, but sometimes people are looking to connect, sometimes they're looking for someone else that feels the way they feel, and they're not necessarily looking to have fun, but I guess, yeah, we are only here because people want it, and music only exists for people to listen to it, and if they, I don't know, aren't.
Yeah, it's not about us, it's about everyone. And playing shows too, I've noticed a lot of empowering, mostly female-fronted bands who, I can list Cat Flaps and Daddy Issues to name a couple, who make an effort to tell their fans that if you feel uncomfortable about something, or if you need to talk to someone or just engage with someone who you know has your back, we have your back. Come up to us after our show, come talk to us, come hug us, like we'll be there for you. And like we know what you go through, kind of thing. And it's amazing how, fans react to that and feeling like, oh, like you aren't something that's larger than life, like you are a part of me as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think I think Speedy Ortiz actually has a phone number that you can call if you're at a gig and you're in trouble or something's going wrong, and they'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Which is huge, because that's the other thing about Nashville, and I know it's not just Nashville, but this is where we live, this is where we operate, and shows can get dangerous, and bad stuff can happen. I know there was a show not too long ago, I forget what band it was a pretty major band. They came through Cannery, and there was some issues with the security, and people were getting like mobbed and harassed, and it was a huge issue. And it's common, it happens all the time. And I'm not saying that bands are responsible for that, but if they have a way to kind of mitigate,
Fight that, to combat that, and not be apathetic, and not be like, oh, I can't do anything. There's a really awesome, we learned about this in school, and it was comparing Altamont Speedway Festival and Mick Jagger trying to calm down all of these druggies that are going crazy and stabbing each other, versus James Brown doing a show in Boston the night after Martin Luther King was assassinated. And watching the difference between those two and watching the way James Brown is able to connect with these people, reach out to them, empathize with them, and say, we are all in this together, you know, we're not, and to really command that crowd and do something so positive with it. And there's a documentary about it. It's called The Night James Brown Saved Boston.
Oh, wow.
You should check it out. Yeah.
Definitely. So on a little bit of a lighter note, just a little, we'll get back to the serious stuff. What are your influences, like musically, but also as performers? Because I think there's an aspect to your performing that, you know, it's not typical. Like, I've talked about this in interviews before, but Nashville has a problem with musicians who don't know how to perform. Mm-hmm. They know how to write. They know how to write great music. They know how to play great music, but they don't know how to perform. So what are your influences in those areas?
We take influence from a lot of different aspects, and Atticus and I are both influenced by different things, but you're right in that performance is the thing that connects to all of our influences. I feel like he's a huge into punk and post-punk.
Really? What?
Yeah, I'm, like mostly post-punk stuff, but I got started earlier when I was, like, my dad was having me listen to The Clash and the Ramones and stuff like that, and lately, like, bands like Pup and the Front Bottoms, I've been
Swimmers.
listening to death, Swimmers.
Power Bottom.
Power Bottom is life. Oh, sorry, life. But yeah, and what's always really appealed to me, and I found more and more, is like, I am much more entertained by somebody straining, somebody pushing themselves, somebody, rather than someone just going up there and effortlessly. You know, I want to see that emotion, and I want to feel it, and I want it to be clear from what I'm seeing that they're feeling it. Yeah,
that's a good way to put it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
No.
ahead.
I mean, well, and adding on to that, it's like we don't need to sound perfect on stage. Like, I don't want to hit every note. I don't want to make every sound perfect to your ears. I want to express the raw emotion of music and engage with people through that. And Bruce Springsteen is my all-time favorite, and I've been blessed enough to see him perform a ridiculous amount of times. And I'm 25. The first time I saw him, I was 4. So, and I've seen him a bunch of times over the last 20 years, and every show is different than the last, but every show is 4 hours of powerhouse, like pushing the limits, rock and roll. And he's so engaging with the crowd, and he makes, like, I know his music front to back, but each time I hear his songs, like, it gives me a different, you know, sense of opportunity in a way. And as a performer, I think I'd much rather have character than be something that you just want to look at. Like, I want you to get lost in the music, and I want you to feel like you could be me on stage.
We've been thinking about this a lot recently with the other band we play with, Tails, and it's really, really performance-centric, and Taylor Cole is from that. That was one of his biggest reasons for starting the band, is to fight against that trend of boring shows. Mm-hmm. And he's had us be way more aware of this. And he also, in order to properly educate me, took me to my first Flaming Lips show when they played just
That was your first Flaming Lips experience?
Yeah, and it was
wow.
insane. And it was like, I kept standing there, I was like, this is crazy. All of this is crazy. Like, the whole show. And then at a certain point, I was probably about halfway through the show, maybe more, it occurred to me, I was like, I haven't paid attention to the music once. And it was the best feeling ever, because you go to a show in Nashville, and the first thing you do, and it happens when people get bored. Yeah. They're like, okay, well, I'm bored, so let me analyze. You know, I'll look at how the drummer's playing, I'll look what the guitarist do, you know, and then they just break everything down because they're bored. But if you're not bored, if you're really entertained, you're not doing that. You're not analyzing. You're just enjoying. You know, and it was freeing. And as a drummer, that to not pay attention to the drums pretty much the entire set, it's probably the first time I haven't done that in memory. You know.
That's great. Yeah, there's something to be said for that kind of spectacle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and performance doesn't always have to be spectacle. I love spectacle, obviously, but I grew up with a huge musical theater background, and performing in musical theater, when you're singing, you're also acting. It's all intertwined, and as a singer, I feel like I have to do that when I have a mic in my hand or a mic in front of me. I'm not just singing the words and the notes so that you can hear them. I'm expressing them as a story and as a way for you to connect to the embodiment of the music and not just like the sounds themselves. And I hope to achieve that. And I've been working on my performance style a lot recently because of Tails and because of Taylor. He sets up a mirror in front of us in practice.
Really?
And that's the first time I've ever done that was with him. And then I went home the next day and I practiced in front of the mirror by myself for like an hour because I was like, I want to see what the people see.
So that's
You know?
really good. So you got something out of that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. I recommend it if you want to.
Yeah, that's is one of the best things. People
Yeah.
say that all the time. I've found one of the most consistent pieces of advice you'll hear from great musicians, but it applies to everything. It's like, if you want to get better at something, record yourself doing it and watch it, or listen to it.
No matter
like,
how cringeworthy it
Yeah,
might
that's
be.
got to be hard. And I'm
Oh,
thinking of like
absolutely.
watching this, and I'm thinking of I don't know if I could watch myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then next time you'd be better because you'd say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I did that," and then you would never do it again.
Right.
And it's something I'm trying to get better at is doing that kind of stuff more. It's something our
Mm-hmm.
guitarist Greg is really good about doing.
And it's super hard to find that balance between calculated performance and in the moment feeling
Right.
yourself, but it's a lot easier if you practice and practice and practice,
I had
because
a- I had
then
a-
your spontaneity it explodes in a new way if you have more to work from. I mean, people say this about jazz musicians forever, like they play so much that like that's why they can improvise
Yeah, it's just because
like, in
my
a second.
jazz instructor, I had a great jazz
Yeah.
instructor, and he said you can only expect to perform at a performance or in the studio at 80%. Like if you're expecting to perform higher than that, you're asking for failure. So how do you compensate for that extra 20%? You prepare 120%, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You over prepare, so that way even if you screw up a little bit, you're covered. And that idea of just like trying to make sure you've got what you have as down as you could have it before you go out and try to do something crazy with it.
And as a front woman, I take other opportunities to perform and do weird, odd jobs, so I give myself more experience. Like I MC for a live band karaoke every once in a while. The band is called the Entertainment Band, and they have a once a week thing at the Sutler. And we just started going for fun, and they liked us. His karaoke name is Bonesaw.
I have a friend who calls himself DJ Bonesaw.
DJ
Really?
Bonesaw.
They look the same kind
We
of
should
person.
collab.
Yeah, Bonesaw and DJ Bonesaw. But I just caught their attention, and I'm Molly Rocket, which also caught their attention. And then they were short an MC for a couple of shows, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do it?" I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty much everything I love about performing, getting other people to sing. It's
Can I
a
come
lot of
out and
fun.
do some weekend with you guys?
Are you kidding me? Of course we
Absolutely.
can, yeah.
I'm excited. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're about out of time. I really appreciate you both being here, Molly and Atticus. It was
Thanks for having
fantastic.
us.
We're going to have you do another song for us. It's called Revolve. And that's from an upcoming EP, is that right?
Correct. Yes, it's been recorded. We are working out the details, but look for it soon.
Awesome.
Very soon.
Great. Make sure you check out Molly Rocket online at the Molly Rocket, and that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the key players. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Revolve around reality, sail away to obscurity, to seek a light beyond the rest. Sail away into the sky. Don't fall down and don't you pass me by. Respiralize.
That was really great.
Thanks
for being here, Molly.
Thanks for having us.
Molly Rocket, everybody. Thanks for watching. This has been another episode of Soundcheck. Be sure to tune in next time for some more great music and interviews, and don't forget to listen outside the lines.
Super duper gang.
Great work. Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice and toy. Yes.
Like a toy.